Got it.
Well, this is session 3 of how to discover your awesome creation vacation. So they're your hosts, David, Mary Jo Nutting, and just very glad to be with you. So, and we're glad that you are here, that hopefully you're getting some great ideas. All right. We gave you homework last time about brainstorming places for a creation vacation near where you live. And so if anybody has some of those ideas, I'm going to recommend you just email those to davenutting@discovercreation.org. Okay? That would be a good one to be able to do. So Mary Jo, why creation vacations?
Why creation vacations? That's a good one. We've talked about this, but we're going to just review that. Fortify your family. I mean, we talked about how evolution is taught everywhere you go, in national parks, zoos, museums, in school, out of school, on TV, everywhere you look. Evolution is found, and that evolutionary teaching undermines the faith of young people. And so part of our main objective in these creation vacations is to fortify your family to stand firm against that kind of evolutionary indoctrination. And we want you to have a great educational experience without the evolutionary indoctrination. And so we show you how to take evolutionary museums and convert them and make them into a creation vacation. Also, it's great for people who desire to have quality family time. We find these vacations really help to build strong family memories. And those things are really good because you can then with your family go back and look at the pictures you take and remember things together. And it helps to build those family relationships through this wonderful vacation time. Another reason for creation vacations is to get to spend time in nature, where experience firsthand what God has made and explore it and just revel in the beauty and enjoy the time that you spend with other people out there. So learning experientially is the best way to learn. I mean, when you get out in Yellowstone and you can not only see it, but smell it, feel it, touch it, things are different than when you just read a book. And so we believe creation vacations are extremely important. We like to say AOI's creation vacations develop fun, friends, facts, fellowship, and good food. And we like to call them a vacation with a purpose. And most vacations have a purpose, but at least these have can have a lasting, eternal purpose as your family becomes strong in the Lord through these vacations. So AOI has Christian camps and tours. We've been doing Christian camps since 1986. And then we started adding in their tours also. And so we do Yellowstone tours. This summer, there's a creation family camp at Twin Peaks, which is, it's about an hour out of Grand Junction, Colorado, on the side of Grand Mesa, beautiful little camp. And then we also have a Costa Rica tour that's coming up in 2024. So we'll tell you more about those a little later in this program. We also do area tours in the Grand Junction area. One of them is Colorado National Monument. Oh, there's Joe. He was in Grand Junction today again.
Joe was, yeah, with me.
He was one of our previous seminar attendees, camp attendees. He's a trainee. This is Colorado National Monument. That's right out our back door, practically. And Dave led a group of middle school kids up there today and had a wonderful time with them.
Very good group of 20 plus kids.
And really a hot day, but it was good. The kids enjoyed it, and we were really glad to be able to serve the kids in that way and their adult leaders. We also do some area tours around here to Arches and Canyonlands National Parks. Dinosaur National Monument is only 2.5, 3 hours away, and we have a dinosaur museum right here in Grand Junction. There's also some dinosaur bones that you can see right in the rock layers out at Rabbit Valley, which is close to Grand Junction. So we're in the process of developing more tours right around here, Western Colorado, that if anybody's interested, you'd be able to contact us and we can help to develop a custom tour right around this area. Here's some dates for the Yellowstone tour coming up yet this summer, August 25 to 29 or September 1 through 5. That's 2 different tours. You sign up for whichever one fits your schedule the best.
Let me give you a little bit of a idea what the Yellowstone geology and what the Yellowstone tour would be like. So when you think Yellowstone, you think catastrophe. Think big volcanics, okay? And so I know that Mount St. Helens in Washington blew up May 18th, 1980, and it seems like a great big volcano. It's probably equivalent to some size of many of them that you have there, and maybe even a little bigger than what you have in Costa Rica, Patricia. But a great big volcano. But the problem is, it's a little small one compared to Yellowstone. You see that first little square on the bottom left? That would be the size of Mount St. Helens. And look at those 3 bigger boxes. Those would be the 3 bigger eruptions at Yellowstone National Park. And so we're talking about a total combination of somewhere close to 10,000 times what Mount St. Helens was.
Now,
That's a bunch.
You notice on this visual that this was taken right in the visitor center. So they are interpreting it as 2.1 million years ago, and then another 640,000 years ago. We don't abide by those time frames. We don't believe it's nearly that old because we believe the Bible teaches a young age for the earth. And so we reinterpret that a little bit, but this is the kind of thing that you're going to find as you go to visitor centers in national parks and so on. And again, it's a great teaching opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. But to realize the immensity of what's going on at Yellowstone National Park, and now the features that you see are still the hot remnants of very, well, I'm going to say fairly recent volcanic activity. And the reason that we're looking at it is that there's a hot magma that's fairly close to the surface below Yellowstone. And because of the fact that it's below the surface, it's allowing water to come down. It's causing a lot of the thermal features in Yellowstone National Park. And just think of a huge volcano explodes. All that material goes out, and it may be several different volcanoes along the rim, but all the stuff goes out, and it leaves a crater that's about 680, I'm going to say somewhere around 80 to 90 kilometers in diameter. So at least that. And
what is
so
that in miles?
That's 45 miles, up to 50 miles in some places.
Wow.
That's a big caldera when you go across that, okay?
What's a caldera, Dave?
A caldera is what happens is there's a bunch of stuff that is blown out from underneath from all the different volcanic vents and spewing out hot ash coming out of there, and that leaves a hole in the ground, and that hole in the ground you might call the caldera. And then the crust of that has a whole bunch of lava flows on top of it, and because of the weight it falls into that hole, and that's called a collapsed caldera. So the caldera would be the center of the volcano, and or the volcanic region, and that gets later, it collapses in on itself. And the collapse in on itself is what gives you 10,000 hydro, that means water, thermal, heat. So there'd be hot water features. And half of the world's hot water features and over 300 geysers happens to be at Yellowstone National Park. So they're quite concentrated there. And so we find things that people love to see, like Old Faithful, and they'll sit around waiting for it to go off. For fortunately, Old Faithful is fairly faithful with an eruption schedule, and you can usually predict when it's going to go off next. So you don't sit there waiting for days and days in order to see it go off. You pretty well know when it is. You want to make sure you get there and be able to have your camera ready, because it's going to go off within 10 or 15 minutes of their predicted time.
And generally, it's approximately 90 minutes
Yeah.
in between, plus or minus 15 minutes, probably.
But as you can see, that's a lot of water that's exploding up into the air, isn't it? And what if people thoroughly enjoy it. So you have geysers. Those are the water coming up into the air. Then you've got these hot pools, and these hot pools are gorgeous, all different shapes and varieties. But the thing is, the coloration is vivid in so many of them. And I love color. And so this one's called Morning Glory Pool, hot pool. And basically it's a hot water. You don't want to take a bath in it. You may not have any skin left if you try to jump in it because of the hot temperature. You can actually tell the temperature of the water strictly by the coloration of around that hot pool and down into it, because the temperature is what is related to the microorganism that is living at that temperature zone, and they have distinctive colorations. And so what you're looking at is different mats of microbes giving you the different colors at the hot pools.
That is really interesting too, isn't it? That God created these microorganisms to live in very specific temperature zones. And then he gave them different colors so we could enjoy them.
Yeah. And so I think that bright yellow is probably pretty close to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas the deeper blue is the boiling temperature of water. So look at that hot one. Beautiful hot spring. And you can see from the center where the water was coming up a lot, and some of it reflecting from the sky. But look at that, and then look as they go further into the shore, the various colors, including kind of a brownish orange, will be the least temperature. And so, but it's still 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Some of the participants here. This is a wonderful couple. It's a volunteer with AOI in the Grand Junction office, and they do so much for AOI in many capacities. For anybody listening is from the area, we can use more volunteers.
Grand Prismatic Hot Spring is one of the very favorite places people like to go in Yellowstone.
Yeah, you see why, can't you? With that gorgeous, intense beauty. And the colder the day, the less you see. So the hotter the day, you see more, because there isn't quite as much steam coming out. If on a cold day, and you see huge amount of steam coming from another place called Roaring Mountain. And less than 100 years ago, people would go there and the whole mountain seemed like it was roaring because of the steam escaping. You know what that tells me? It's not that old. it's still steaming. And with the change that we see just in 20 years even, and what you're seeing is, if you extrapolate that back, if you had 2 million years ago, you shouldn't have any of that heat. It should be all dissipated. People love to see the hot pools or the hot pots.
Go back one. We needed to say, go back one slide, Dave. The fumaroles, that's the third kind of thermal features. So you have geysers, you have hot springs. You have these things which are just steaming. They call those fumaroles. And then the fourth one kind of a thermal feature that you see at Yellowstone are these mud pots. And those are really cool because they kind of go bloop, 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 bloop. And they're really fun to look at.
Some have various colors too. And so it's like a paint pot, okay? So it's kind of fun to see that. So all of these features tell me Yellowstone isn't as old as the hills, as old as they say it is, right? And I don't think we're going to be able to sustain them. So we have heat when we look at Yellowstone. But another catastrophic event is ice. So we sometimes call our Yellowstone tour the fire and ice tour, because ice at Yellowstone during the glacial period was about 4,000 feet deep. That's thick ice. And so any other areas, that ice is as much as 10,000 feet deep. That's about 2 miles or over 3 kilometers deep, right? So that's a lot of ice. And so there was an ice age. And the question is, when? Was that before or after the volcanic eruption? And so that's one of the things we discuss on our tour as well. But when you go to Yellowstone, it's nice to have a map. And I think the square miles of Yellowstone is probably not too far off from the square miles of the country of Costa Rica. And by the way, anyhow, but that is a big, big one. I think just if you just take this loop right here, it's 155 miles around this thing. So almost 200 kilometers. All right. So that's a long ways around just this one circle right here. But we take bus trips into Yellowstone. One day we might do the southern loop. Another day we'll do the northern loop. Okay. And depending on how much time we have, we might break up the southern loop into 2 different days. So here's one of our volunteer tour guides. It's Diane Galbraith, and in action, talking about the thermal features here at Grand Prismatic, I guess, right here. But Alan and Diane have been tour guides with us for a long time. I'm not sure if they were along when you were with us on the Southwest Geology trip, Patricia. Were they?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All righty.
I don't
But
remember. I don't
here's,
think so.
They
here's
love,
yours
they love
truly.
they really love to guide people. They live in Jackson, Wyoming, and they are professional tour guides for the Tetons and for the Yellowstone Park. So
Yeah.
we feel very blessed to have them along on our tours.
Yeah. Oh, this is at Mammoth Hot Springs. Different type of a hot spring. The white looks like snow, but it's not. It's a mineral of calcite. And the more active it is, the more coloration, the more thermal micromats will be on it. But this is just a gorgeous place, and we enjoy taking people there as well. And Mary Jo's buddy, fun hiking partner at Yellowstone. Okay.
From above, there's 2 different trails at Grand Prismatic. One of them is a boardwalk. You can go right close to the pool. And the other one takes you up on a little bit of a hill outside of that area. And you can look down and see the beauty of the pool behind you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, the coloration we're saying is due to thermophiles. Those means thermo is heat. Philes means lovers of heat. And they live in the extreme environments, including 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Fahrenheit, etc. But there are other thermophiles called extremophiles. They even live in temperatures close to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and can withstand huge amounts of pressure. And it's just amazing to see these little guys. And when you look under a microscopic examination, there's one that can withstand temperatures all the way up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, but they can also withstand temperatures all the way down to virtually absolute zero.
Wow.
That, what is that? A minus two?
Minus 40?
Huh?
Is that minus 40 or more?
No, minus 200 and some degrees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Absolute zero. All right. So, and they can be irradiated with thousands of times more radiation than what would kill a person and still survive. They can survive a complete vacuum. Just amazing little creatures, how God had filled his every niche of this earth with creatures for the specific niche. Anybody loves waterfalls? You'd love to look at Yellowstone Falls and many of the falls in Yellowstone National Park. Just to think about the power of that water looking from above and looking down, it's just absolutely amazing.
It's
Another
beautiful.
waterfall.
They're very beautiful, but it also reminds us of the power of moving water and how it can do so much erosion in a relatively short time.
That's exactly right. But this one is having a hard time right here because it has a hard volcanic layer that it's having a hard time eroding it. But what if there was a lot more water? Then that stuff would be just blasted out instead. Again, here's another waterfall, another hot spring, one of my favorites. So gorgeous colors here. Look at that beautiful turquoise color. And but I also love the wildlife, the birds, etc. A trumpeter swan is a big bird, has an 8-foot wingspan. 8-foot wingspan. That's not quite 3 meters. All right. So we're talking about a pretty good size bird here. And it's really fun. I loved taking pictures of those guys. And they were very kind to take off and let me photograph them. So again, trumpeter swans is what those are. They're making a comeback in Yellowstone, by the way. They were almost hunted to extinction by people that were making hats, where the ladies wanted these feather hats. The beautiful white feathers of the trumpeter swan afforded a great profit for them. I love the elk in Yellowstone and other parts of the world too, but the elk in Yellowstone, this one was so kind to pose. The buffalo or the bison, the close-up views of it. A very nice animal to stay away from. You know, you don't want to try to pet one. So anyhow, and then look at the bison out there and the kids on our trip, that love it. They're just so thrilled to see the animals and the antelope. Or they're called pronghorn, but we were able to see a mama and 2 little babies this particular just last month. So just so cute to see those little babies. Anyhow, we saw a couple bear as well. One was close enough to get some decent pictures. The other one was more like taking a picture of a black dot a long ways away. So
This is a black bear. There are black bear and also grizzly bears in Yellowstone Park. And
yeah,
really the grizzlies are more aggressive, but they're still, you don't want to pet these black ones either.
no, you really don't. And we talk about the design features of the antelope, the design features of the bear, and what about the coyote? I'm surprised my camera actually stopped this one in mid-action of running. So
This was a really cool thing that this coyote and a badger were kind of facing off, and we watched them for quite a while. Just to, we didn't know who was going to win that fight. The badger kept poking its head out of the out of the ground, and then it would, I think it was kind of teasing the coyote. but
Yeah,
then
I think so.
watching it, that was fun to watch.
Yeah. We've seen mountain goats up there, uh, mountain sheep. Gorgeous, gorgeous one. Moose, been able to see moose and big bull moose right nearby in the neighboring park, which is Grand Teton. And this is just near the camp where we stay. We love to go on a river walk, and we spotted this particular moose. This one got mad at us, and he was really threatened. This mama moose, probably protecting its calf, was really threatening us. Okay, and another bear. Oh, there's a bear. So as you look at all these things, it's fun to see the wild animals and the wild teens. These aren't too wild of teens, and they just really enjoyed helping us lead worship there. So that was good. So we have creation teaching as well, before, on the bus, at the sites, back at the camp, after dinner, having all those things. But here's a young geologist so excited about the rocks from one of the families that came. We're looking at obsidian. That's volcanic glass. When you think of obsidian, think of arrowheads that the Native American people made for hunting. So sharp that it's actually sharper than surgical steel. And that's because of the fracture and how you can do it. Then you can use it in surgery because of the sharpness of the thing. And at the one camp, this was a few years back, and our grandson Samuel just absolutely loved the water slide. Over and over went down that thing. And that's just a makeshift water slide, but it sure worked. You can make friends, right, Mary Jo?
Yep, yeah. This is on a canoe trip that we took down the river right near camp, and it's no rapids on there, but it was just beautiful. And we oftentimes see moose along that section of the river. We usually try to include a day at the camp or near the camp for people that want to do camp activities or go canoeing, or some people go back into the park on that free day. Others like to do some of the games at the camp and so on.
Right.
Hey there, you recognize them, Patricia? Dr. Fred and his wife from Costa Rica came up and joined us at the Yellowstone camp one year.
Yep.
They had a ball.
Yeah, another year, Yafet joined us. So he's also from Costa Rica. And so we're sure glad to have him along with us. And then this is some camp participants and some of the camp staff kids. And they like to come along with us too. And they like the fellowship.
We have people of all ages come on these trips. I mean, if you can walk a bit, you can make it on these trips, but you can see young children enjoy it, and so do older people.
And you don't have to be a major hiker to enjoy even some of the walks because they're so simple. If you want a little bit bigger walk, it's available too, but you don't need to. But we do have to get outside and see things, right?
Mm-hmm. This was really interesting. One year we had a dad called us, and he was wondering if he could bring his family. He was trying to get some information. His wife is blind. I think she's been blind from birth. I'm not positive on that, but she's totally blind. And they have adopted two young blind children from Romania. And we were wondering, how would this work for the Yellowstone camp? But this dad, I tell you what, he was so wonderful with his kids and with his wife. And they had a ball, an absolute ball. And they experienced Yellowstone from a very different perspective than we might, because, of course, they couldn't see. So we ended up having some of the kids that were on the camp with us close their eyes and, we'll hold their arm or something so they could go around and experience what it would be like. And so smelling the hot springs and the sulfur in the air and
feel the vibrations from the waterfalls or from the gurgling of the steam vents. So they could experience it in a way that I never experienced it.
and
So
they were really a joy to have on the trip. I think everybody, it really enhanced the trip for everybody that was there.
yeah, it really was. Another one of our family camps is Twin Peaks Family Camp. Mary Jo and I aren't teachers on this one, but some of our other creation staff actually do that one this year and the last several years, like Richard Stepanek and also Lanny and Marilyn Johnson. And so people know Lanny Johnson as Eugene, the lion puppet. And he just has fun with the kids, and they have a wonderful children's ministry. And Rich speaks frequently on the book of Genesis and relates that to creation. So they do a great job. They're great activities, hiking up in the high mountains, just gorgeous scenery, beautiful wildflowers. It's just a great camp to come to. And so I always enjoy the photos of flowers. So Patricia, that's why I enjoy your gardens there in Costa Rica. So if people want to do archery, they have that available at that camp, and they do a special type of Israeli dodgeball, I believe, inside that little enclosure there. Kids are having fun riding the horse. Well, you can use a broomstick and imagine all kinds of things you're riding with it. And so the kids love it there too. It's meant for the whole family, and good activities, good worship, fireside type stuff, roasting marshmallows, making s'mores, that kind of thing. Another one of our family camps, or family tours, is the Costa Rica Creation Tour. We set the dates on February 25 to March 5, and for this coming year. And so
we're working on the exact itinerary for that. Our contacts in Costa Rica, our coordinator down there is working on starting to book the hotels and so on for that trip. So
if somebody's already been on one of our tours, we're going to go to some different sites too on this particular tour, we believe, depending on what Oscar can put together. You know, Costa Rica is 25% the size of our home state of Colorado, and yet it has 1/10 of 1% of the Earth's landmass for the whole country. But it also has 5% of the whole world's biodiversity. And that's a huge bunch of different variety of creatures and plants all packed in to a little package. That's why it's so fun in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica also has two oceans. It touches onto the Atlantic Ocean on the Caribbean side, and it also touches on the Pacific on the other side. And you can actually, if you wanted to drive, you could do both in one day. We don't like to do that. We take more time so we can enjoy the beaches. But it's very interesting because the character of the beaches and even the character of some of the vegetation that you see on one side is different than what you'll see on the other side. Yeah. So there's a lot of diversity in Costa Rica.
If you happen to stand on one of the high points in Costa Rica, and on a clear day, you can see both the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean from the same spot. So that's so exciting. But it's a narrow country, but there's also a lot of plate tectonics that goes on. These are different plates, oceanic crustal plates that are actually moving. And when you have moving plates, you have things subducting underneath the continent type plate. And that is what causes so many of the volcanoes. And I believe there's 6 or 7 active volcanoes right now in the country of Costa Rica. And that doesn't mean you're going to be blown off the map going there. But active means various things, including different things in volcanic eruption. And like in 2006, Arenal had gone off. And there's a picture of some of the of all of the different volcanic lava flows on one mountain. That'd be a fun thing to see at night, wouldn't it? Especially if you knew it wasn't going to blow and blow you up too, which usually doesn't. This one is POAS. We usually get to see that one. POAS is a volcano, and if this clouds move, you can see, look right down into that crater of that particular small volcano. But it isn't a very big one, but it can be powerful at times. And as far as Costa Rica, there's 1,400 species of orchids alone. And so last night somebody asked, I didn't know there were that many species of orchids in the world. So I looked it up. There are over 20,000 species of orchids in the world.
Wow.
God must really love orchids. And each species, in Costa Rica for sure, has its own fungus that's very important in propagation. But think about it, which came first, the orchid or the fungus? And one needs the other. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So it's Patricia, your mother loves to visit the orchid garden, didn't she? Yeah.
Yes, she sure did.
Yeah. Butterflies and moths, more than 9,000 species. I love butterflies. Okay. One of my favorite is a blue morphle. But keep in mind one thing, the blue morphle butterfly, so gorgeous as it is not blue. I said, what do you mean? I can see it right there. No, it's actually about as clear as your fingernail. The scales on the blue morphle would look like that. And how does it get an intense blue then? And it's basically each of those scales have literally thousands of a little laminae, it's called, or layers. Let's call them layers right now. They look like kind of Christmas trees. And the light can go down in there, and not only is reflected back and only in the blue spectrum, but it is amplified back. It's so an airplane pilot from 30,000 feet in elevation will be able to see a group of blue morphos on the ground from 30,000 feet up. That's how intense this is. But remember, the blue morpho isn't blue. It just reflects that, I guess, that part, and amplifies that particular color. If you want to know more about it, go to our publication, Think and Believe, and look for blue morpho. And you'll find out or just morpho would be fine. Just look that up. And we have an article written down there by Bill Browning. And I love blue morpho butterflies. So fun to see. I love seeing the beauty in the birds, etc., like the scarlet macaw, and they mate for life. They're supposed to. I've been told that some of them are unfaithful, though. Anyhow, the hummingbirds, Colorado has one species. I think there are numerous species of butterflies in Costa Rica. And they have special design features too. The wings flap 50 to 200 times per second. That's fast, okay? And it's going to have a lot of energy in order to sustain that kind of energy. So it sips in a day 2 times its body weight per day. So if you ever heard anybody say, oh, I don't eat much, I eat like a bird, ask them, you mean a hummingbird? Anyhow, but how does it get so much nectar in? Well, the tongue of the hummingbird works more like a micro pump. It's a pump that it's actually pumping the fluid from the actual flower that it's going into. So there are two different narrow tubes that unzip and then they fit together and they act just like a normal electronic pump. And so it's amazing how they are able to do that. Mary Jo, do you think that was a accident of nature?
No, I don't think so. I mean, can you imagine trying to evolve a hummingbird? What's it going to do in the meantime before it gets this magnificent beak and the tongue system that works perfectly? You have to have all the pieces working together at the same time, or none of it's going to really work well. So
Yeah.
that's one of the big evidences we feel for creation is just you can't evolve these kind of things with step by step little bit of mutation here and a little mutation there. They're going to starve to death in the meantime.
And remember the session that I gave last time that says because of the hip structure, all birds are dinosaurs. That's quite a dinosaur. I will have to say that. It's not my picture of a dinosaur, but that's they're given their definition of a hip structure and what the dinosaur is. That fits all birds. So in that regard, all birds are dinosaurs according to the bias of evolution. But with the wings flapping so much and all that energy being expended, what does it do about friction and the heat buildup there and metabolic internal heat? How does it cool himself? Well, the flapping of the wings itself is like a fan, and it helps cool the outside of the hummingbird. And then the heartbeat is 50 to 1,200 times per minute. Boy, did they ever breathe fast. Respiration of 200, well, I meant the respiration 250 times per minute, and helps cool the inside. And so all of this stuff is working, isn't it, to keep that hummingbird cool? And how did all of those very delicate systems evolve? Mangroves. Mary Jo, you love the mangrove swamps.
Do like them. They're amazing and they support so many creatures. And they live in the brackish water in the rivers and so on, in estuaries around the edges of the ocean. And so when the tide is in, the water comes up into that ocean, and now you've got salt water, and then when it goes out, you've got fresh water to deal with. But these mangroves have these special systems built into them that small filters that remove the salt, and then they drop their leaves after they get real full of salt. And so they're really cool plants to look at too.
And Mary Jo loves to take the boat in through the mangrove swamp where it gets really narrow and you see monkeys in the trees and you see all kinds of great things.
Yeah, these mangrove swamps support so many creatures. Oftentimes we'll see monkeys there and quite a variety of birds, sloths. Many times you'll find near the mangrove swamps, or up in the trees by the mangrove swamps.
Sure. And we see symbiotic relationships all over in Costa Rica. For instance, they have a relationship between the thorns of a bark of a tree and ants. The ants live among the thorns. They go up and down, and that the thorns keep the anteater away. The anteater can actually devour up to 25,000 ants per day. Otherwise, so that's a bunch of ants. All right, but
By
look
the
at
way,
would you like to climb that tree?
no,
Thanks.
those thorns on that tree remind us of Genesis chapter 3, when Adam and Eve decided they were going to follow Satan's way instead of God's way, and they ate that fruit that was forbidden to them, and then ended up with the world being cursed. And it says
Yep.
there, thorns and thistles would come forth. And so one of the things we like to do on these trips is to relate what we're seeing to the Genesis foundation that you find in Genesis 1 through 11. So we look at some of the fantastic design that we see, like in the beautiful, colorful birds and so on, and flowers. And that reminds us of Genesis 1 and 2, where God created. But then we see things like these thorns and thistles and all that stuff that reminds us this world was cursed because of mankind's sin. And we see evidence of that. And then later on, we'll also, as we look around, we find Genesis 6 through 8 that shows us evidence that God does judge sin. And we'll see a lot of that kind of evidence, especially up in Yellowstone, but we'll see that also down in Costa Rica. Although a lot of the geology is covered up by all the wonderful plants,
Just wrecks the geology. Yeah, it really does. But it is a photographer's delight. Seeing the birds, all the beauty there. I love taking pictures, whether it be of flowers or Mary Jo spotted this extremely bright crab along the beach on one of
So
our tour days.
beautiful.
Huh?
Who thought a crab could be beautiful, huh?
Yeah, but there it is. A very, very beautiful crab. Anyhow, monkeys galore. All right. And so
You got to watch those monkeys though, because they've learned that tourists have snacks in their backpacks. And so if you set your backpack down on the picnic table or on the ground, these monkeys are very fast to come in and grab your backpack. We were
Yeah.
hiking one trail in one of the national parks in Costa Rica one time, and one of these white-faced monkeys jumped out of the tree, jumped onto my backpack on my back, and then it kind of went. It was spitting at me, and I just automatically, without even thinking, it just kind of went like that, and bounced him off of there. But they're fun to see, but we've heard of these white-faced monkeys even taking people's camera bags and take them up in the tree.
Yeah. Do they hold them for ransom?
I don't know.
Give me food, I give you back your camera.
Maybe.
They're pretty smart animals anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you going to do for your next vacation? That's basically what we're asked her. How to discover your awesome creation vacation. But wherever you go, whatever you do some upfront planning. Make sure you get the apps and guidebooks. And so you have to do the upfront research. We have Yellowstone guidebooks. We have Bryson, Zion, the Grand Canyon guidebooks. We have our phone apps of Yellowstone and also the Colorado National Monument that can really give you a ton of information. And so all this is good. Mary Jo, I was talking to Joe earlier this day, and he is beginning to work on some guidebooks of some of the parks in his part of the country right now.
Oh, great.
So
Yeah.
he's going to be doing that, but he's going to branch off and possibly even come out, do other things as far as guidebooks that make it easy for a child, because he is a children's author.
Yeah. Good.
So anyhow, very
Yeah.
good.
So you can do a DIY or do-it-yourself vacation where you do the research, put together your tour, book your hotels, figure out where you want to sleep at night, where you want to eat, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you want to go camping, or you can come with one of the trips that we have from Alpha Omega Institute or one of the other creation organizations that sponsor trips, and that's a great way to go, because you don't have to worry about the hotels, the food, the places to go.
Yep.
You can get in the bus and come along. And lots of teaching on those trips, along with a whole lot of fun and fellowship with other like-minded people. Usually we have groups that really enjoy being together. You make new friends and get to see things that you wouldn't see otherwise. Especially, when we go to the Costa Rica trip, we don't know how to find the animals down there nearly as well as the Costa Rican guides do. So in the Costa Rican trips, we hire a naturalist guide to go with us. And of course, in Yellowstone, we have those too, because we have ourselves and the Galbraiths. But down there in Costa Rica, I am amazed at what some of these guides can do. I think that's maybe the next one. They can look. Why don't you advance the slide? There we go. And the guides in Costa Rica, I was amazed when we started going with guides, because they would listen and they would hear and identify a particular kind of bird in the jungle, and then they would know, oh, that kind of bird lives low down in the jungle, or it lives mid-range, in the trees, or it lives way up high. And so then they would know where to start looking for it with their scope or their binoculars. And they have these big scopes that they can put on it, so we can look through there and get some really good pictures and see these creatures a little closer.
Yeah.
They can also help encourage us not to touch vipers and other kinds of things that might be very dangerous. So there can be some real advantages to coming on a planned tour with a group of people.
Or family camp, where you go to one spot, mostly sit there most of the week, except for taking a tour part of that time, and just sit there and enjoy the beauty and the activities of the camp, and also all the creation teaching. So all of our tours, all of our camps at AOI have a huge amount of good creation teaching. And so this is where people want to come from various parts of the country to get that. So
and we
praise the
want to
Lord for that.
we would encourage you also to think about bringing friends with you, or bring a group of friends, or bring your grandkids. These trips make a wonderful time for grandparents to bring their grandchildren, because they're fairly easy kinds of vacations with the kids, because the activities are planned and the meals and the lodging and all is planned. And so you just get to bring your grandkids and spend time with them and develop those memories and relationships together. We were able to bring our grandkids this last June up to Yellowstone, and boy, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And we loved having them with us. It was wonderful to be able to build into them truths from God's word and just create good memories together, good relationships. So vacations are more than just, when we think of vacation, a lot of people think of fun time and they think of going to see some new things. And that's always wonderful. Those things, that's fantastic. But it can also be a time to build your family up spiritually, to learn new things about this world that God has created, to learn evidences that you can use for sharing with skeptics and so on. And so these camps make a wonderful time. We just want to encourage you. Come and join us. Twin Peaks it's a couple weeks from now. So if you want to go to the Twin Peaks Creation Family Camp,
Better get moving.
Better get moving on that one. But there still is a bit of room there. So go ahead and sign up for that on our website. If you want to come to one of the Yellowstone tours later in the summer, we have registration online for that, or you can call the office. And I think it's probably best just to call the office and register for that Yellowstone tour. Costa Rica, we'd like to start getting some indications of people who might be interested in going on the Costa Rica trip. One other thing you should know is with Alpha Omega Institute, when we do these tours, we keep the groups fairly small. And in the range, well, it depends on which trip it is, but you're not going to be on a huge bus with a lot of people. And so it makes it more fun. It makes it easier to make friends and to enjoy being together. And so if you are interested in Costa Rica, we would really like to kind of start getting an indication of people who might be interested in going in 2024 with us. We also want to let you know that at AOI, we can help you design a custom trip if you're interested in that. One of the things we've done in the past is what we call the Rock and River trip. And that was more of an adventure camp with rafting and rappelling and rock climbing and hiking in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in Colorado. And that's a great time too. Right now, we don't have a sponsored trip right now, but if somebody was interested in bringing a youth group or something, we could work that out for next summer with Journey Quest, which is a Christian wilderness ministry in Colorado. And so we've done those before. We've done several camps with Journey Quest, and they always do a great job serving people also.
That's right. That's right. And so anyhow, for future Zoom classes, I'll just let you know that a little bit of an advertising for one of our next Zoom offerings is going to be, for lack of a better name for it right now, Creation versus Evolution Fire Hose. And that basically we want to fortify people so that they're not taken captive by evolutionary philosophy. And literally, evolution is philosophy. It is not science. And basically, we'll look at the best proofs for evolution, what's wrong with those proofs. And we'll give you good, positive reason to believe in creation, and the Bible is true all along. And so this is a fire hose. That means we're going to give you a lot of material in as short a period of time as we can. And imagine 3 days or 3 nights of maybe 3 mornings, giving you tremendous ammunition to fortify you and your family, so that you're not taken captive by evolutionary philosophy or basically naturalistic worldviews.